Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Takeaway Tuesday, where we're going to be talking about rapport development and social support. Now, we all know that the goal of the forensic interview is to elicit information and details with as much accuracy as possible during a forensic interview. And best practice has long maintained that the way that we do this in an interview is to ask broad, open-ended prompts, using statements such as, tell me more about, and then adding in whatever the child has said, or using a prior statement from a child, repeating that, and then asking a question. An example would be, you said your dad's been touching you. Tell me more about your dad touching you. And what we know about using these particular statements is that we have higher accuracy. If they do make a disclosure, we get more forensically relevant information, and there's less errors and inconsistencies. Now, equally important to the questions that you and I ask in a forensic interview is the atmosphere that we create. What do we do to make a child who is a stranger to us, who's in a very uncomfortable situation, a very unique and different situation, how do we get that child where they're willing to share information about possible abuse or neglect? And what we have to do is we have to develop rapport. Now, unfortunately, what we often see with interviewers as they're talking with children, they come in and they say, well, tell me your name, how old are you? Which, of course, we have to have that information. But then they follow it up with questions such as, where do you go to school? What grade are you in? What's your favorite subject? Or tell me about your friends. Now, folks, there's some major challenges with those particular questions. And one is the assumption that school or friends is something that children want to talk about. And I just want you to think about this. Maybe a child does badly in school. They're not getting math, or they're a bad speller, hence they're making bad grades. They're really struggling in school. Maybe they have some behavior issues and they come home every day and they're on the red or the blue or whatever the color system is at the school that they go to, and they're just having trouble. Or think about this. Let's say your child has just moved to a new community. They haven't had a chance to make friends yet, and all of their friends they left behind. Maybe they're being bullied and they don't have any friends. So by coming in and making the assumption that school or friends is something that's okay, and that this child is willing to talk about, may in essence do the very thing that we don't want to happen, make them more uncomfortable or make them sad. And if that happens, they're not going to be willing to talk to us about possible abuse or neglect. So what we want you to do instead, after you ask, tell me your name and how old you are, is, I just met you. I don't know much about you. Tell me about yourself. And then whatever the child wants to talk about, explore that fully. And folks, it could be going bow hunting with dad. It could be dance or ballet or football. It could be raising stick bugs. And yes, you heard me right, raising stick bugs. It doesn't matter whatever the child brings up. Let them talk about it. Show some interest. Ask follow-up questions. Because the important issue here is the child's bringing up the topic. And if they bring up the topic, it's more than likely something they're willing to visit about. So explore that fully. Now, in addition to your rapport, you're going to be adding in socially supportive statements. It's really been exciting in our field in the last couple of years because we've got some research that says, gosh, in an interview, we need to be human. And this is something that we hear a lot in basic forensic interviewing, is how much support can you give the children. Now, folks, we're not talking about, wow, that was great type of statements. We don't want those. This is statements such as, the child, I'll just give you back to the example, the child talking about stick bugs. Thank you for sharing that with me. I didn't know anything about raising stick bugs. Or it could be if a child expresses emotion, I really don't feel good talking about this. Just saying, oh, you don't feel very good about talking today? Tell me some more about how you're feeling. Or if they're saying, gosh, this interview has taken a really, really long time, you acknowledge that. Yeah, some kids do say it takes a long time, and sometimes it does. Thanks for letting me know. In other words, folks, you're being human, you're responding to this child. So folks, I want you to think about this. An effective interview is not just the questions that we ask, it's developing rapport, finding a subject the child wants to talk about. It's using supportive statements in the forensic interview. It's being human. So folks, in your next interviews, try this on for size. Tell me about yourself. Tell me some fun things you like to do. Use those supportive statements and just see if that makes the child more comfortable and more willing to share information with you. Don't forget to also check out the NCAC Virtual Training Center, where we have webinars and trainings that will help you develop rapport. We'll talk to you more about social support. Also look to Calio. There's a lot of information there. There's some bibliographies, some research to practice pieces. We encourage you to go there, find out more information. And as always, if you have any thoughts or comments or questions, please email or give me a call. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next month.